You must go and read a book entitled The 13th Tribe. Revelation chapter 2 then says they claim to be Jews, but they're from the synagogue of Satan. And conveniently so, politically, that the Jews want to position themselves next to Jesus.
Yeah.
So that
there are people who are saying that the modern people that are actually in the land of the Middle East today are not the true Israelites. And these say that the true Israelites are actually black people. They base this off of Deuteronomy 28. Amongst them is Joshua Maponga and many others. And then there's those who say the people that are in the Middle East who are actually being fought against the land today, which is called modern day Palestine. They are the true Israelites. So then can we prove this, and then we say who's the true Israelites and who is not the true Israelites? So the best part to actually go about this is not really to speak my theories, but to actually go to history and then try to show you through history as to who is the true Israelites and stuff, because a lot of people have actually been fighting on this incident. Now I'm going to bring biblical scriptures as well as history, and then I'm going to use scholarly fields and research. Now, on one side, who is the first person that perpetuated the idea that there's such a thing such as the Hebrew Israelites? Who is the first person actually that even dared to perpetuate this teaching or idea? So the earliest fragment or sources we actually brought out what is called the Hebrew Israelites. It was in the 1800s, around 1896, sorry. The man's name, you can go Google him or search him. He is actually called William Crowdy Saunders. William Crowdy Saunders was a black man in the United States, and this was during the time of slavery in the United States. Now, people were being sold as slaves and traded and stuff, and they were abused. Mainly, this was in the southern part of the United States. The northern part of the United States didn't have a problem with black people. They were equals, they were held as equals, but the southern part had problems. That is why even to this day you find there's so much racism rooted even in the southern parts of the United States, even to this day. So William Crowdy Saunders was a pastor, and then he declared that he had a vision, and God actually appeared to him, and God said to him that black people are the true Hebrew Israelites, not the people that people knew these are the original Israelites, which were the people who came from Israel, who are called modern day Jews today. So this is where it was perpetuated. It went on to be supported by such scholarly people like Ranuko Rashidi, also a black scholar, and then went on to be perpetuated and stuff. We get as early as possible, and then we look into the study of what is called the father of history. Who's the father of history? It's a man by the name of Herodotus. He's a Greek. This was around 500 BC. Now, Herodotus actually makes a distinction between what is called the Semites, which is the children of Shem, and the Cushites, which are the people of Cush. These are the Ethiopians, the people of the aboriginals, like Ethiopia, where black people actually descended from. The main Ethiopia, actually Cush. He makes a distinction between the Shemites, which is what is called the modern day Jews, as well as the black people, the Cushites. He makes a distinction between them. This is Herodotus in 500 BC. And as well as the Bible does make a distinction, and I'll show you with a few scriptures concerning this. We're going to be looking in the book of Numbers 12 verse 1. In the book of Numbers 12 verse 1, the Bible speaks, it says to us, and Miriam and Aaron, these are the Jews, or what you'd call the Israelites. Miriam and Aaron spake against Moses. Moses also a Jew or a Hebrew or an Israelite. Because, now the word Jew is a word that is used mainly to describe Israelites today. Before they were called Israelites or Hebrew people, Abrahamites. So the Jew is used, though it comes from the word Judah, people who are from Judah, but it's used generally for all of them. So Miriam, Moses, and Aaron, they are the Hebrew people. Now the Bible says Miriam and Aaron spoke against Moses because of the Ethiopian woman whom he had married. For he had married an Ethiopian woman. So we see a bit of, I don't know, maybe there was racism that Aaron and Miriam had, but Moses didn't have racism. He married an an Ethiopian woman. Do not make a mistake. In Exodus 4, the woman he married was Zipporah, a Midianite. So she left because in Exodus 4, the woman was angry that Moses had to cut off a foreskin of his children. The woman didn't understand the customs of the Israelites. She was angry, so she must have left him there or later. In fact, he must have left him later, because there's a part where Jethro, the father of the woman in Exodus 19, comes to Moses, and the Bible says he came with the wife of Moses. So people believe the father tried to actually make the marriage work, but it didn't. Ultimately, Moses took a wife. It makes sense why he agreed, according to Matthew 19, that people could divorce a wife, because he was a divorced himself. So this is where we see then Moses taking an Ethiopian wife. So there's a distinction the Bible makes by this, that the Ethiopians were not the Shemites. Another thing, again, for people who are fighting to say, no, the Bible cannot be trusted, it was what. I trust the Bible. Okay, I'm just going to use archaeology and history. There is a painting that has been discovered in the tomb of Seti the First. Seti the First was one of the pharaohs who actually ruled in Egypt. This is 109,000 years. This is 109. This is 1,000. This is 1,900 years before Jesus. So the tomb, it had actually a painting of the people who actually migrated into Egypt, where people say, no, there's no proof that Israelites were ever into Egypt. The painting is called the Beni Hassani painting. It's there. So it describes them. They are different in color, complexion. They are way lighter than the Egyptians, according to the drawing. And when they came with their animals and heads and families and children. The painting reveals that, the Beni Hassani painting in the 1900s. And there's also what is actually called the Brooklyn papyrus. It's in Brooklyn. It's a papyri. It proves in the history that there's actually been people that did enter Egypt who had Hebrew names. There's never amongst the African people where there's been a letter that has been used that is Hebrew, like the Hebrew. We've never used letters such as Aleph, Bet, Gamel, Dalet as black people. There's never been such a trace even in history. So the Beni Hassani, so the Brooklyn papyri, the Brooklyn papyrus reveals, it's in Brooklyn, that is why it's called like that. It reveals about 90 names of people who were in the time of Egypt. Amongst them, about 12 of them actually had the Hebrew name or the Semite names that were changed to the Egyptian names. In particular, one of them is the woman that is found in the book of Exodus. Chapter 2 was one of the midwives. I forgot the name, so one of the midwives, I'll put it on the screen though. So her name was found there to prove that really the Semites were once in Egypt. They are migrated around the time of Numenhotep the second, which was a pharaoh of Egypt. So history also proves that. So I'm trying to say, we've got to be careful as black people to say we are not what we are. We're not, because a lot of black people have been trying to claim this identity of the Jewish people. Now, the Bible did anticipate this hostility against the Hebrew people. For a good example, Hitler in World War II, who did he kill in the concentration camps? The people he killed, he said it's Jews, and he called them nesting words. He called them dogs, which is not right. It's uncalled for. And he killed over about 5 million Jews. So why is it that it wasn't black people, if that's the case? Unless you say, Hitler was also having it wrong. Now, I know that people who believe that black people are Jews will look at this, they will also not take it, because this is a stronghold. They've convinced themselves. This is not enough to actually repel what they've convinced themselves for years. However, if you go and check history, around the 1600s, around the 1500s, no one called black people Jews or Israelites, Hebrews. No, they never. It came during the Crowdy. Saunders was the one who popularized it, but the sparks that were beginning, some say they begin around the 1700s, but before that, during the time of the New Testament, no one called black people Hebrews. No one. It's early, this thing. So to show Guti, ancient historians like Herodotus, they saw Jewish people separate. The Semites were separate from the Cushites, black people. The Bible speaks in the book of Revelation 12 that the woman will give birth to a child. This child will be snatched into heaven, given a rod to rule all the nations. Obviously, this is Jesus Christ. And when the child now rules all the nations of the earth, ultimately what will happen is this. It is that all the earth will actually come up against this woman who gave birth to this child, which is Jesus. That is not the church, because the church is a virgin bride. She hasn't given any child. That is Israel. So we know this because the Bible speaks that the entire earth in the end times will come against Israel. So why is it that the whole earth will come against Israel? Interestingly, we've also been people who are subjected to so much animosity and racial problems as black people. But in the end times, Israel will have it worse. So even some people, even in Africa, Libya is written in the Bible, in Ezekiel, as well as Egypt, as well as other parts, that they will also form part to coalition that will come against the Jewish people in the end time. So it's not that it's going to be easy for the Jewish people, it's going to be worse. So we have to pray as the church before it gets there, because Jesus' second coming is basically based for the Jewish people. When he comes with the church after the rapture, he will come to Israel to rescue the Jewish people from the hate of the people of the earth, when they will try to wipe them out of the earth. Because God is saying, I haven't forgotten the promises I have made to Abraham. If this blessed you, do not forget to like and to subscribe, because we've got a lot of more videos like this that are coming up. Bless you.